I met with a battalion chief and he said, look, brother, I've been doing this 24 years. I haven't slept really in 2 years. My aches and pains are worse than ever. My leadership skills aren't as good as they could be. I started doing the recharge rooms and working with the Positive Impact Alliance and cold immersion and those techniques. He goes, and he started tearing up and we started crying. He goes, I'm a better husband now at home. I'm a stronger father. He goes, I'm addicted. He goes, I can't go a week without doing my sessions. It's made me a better leader. I feel like I can have more longevity. You've given us hope again.
Rich, you've been working with fire departments, police departments, first responders. You've told me that you're very concerned about the ill health effects that come with the profession, and those are both psychological and physiological. So you've developed a concept you call the recharge room, and you put in there a combination of, people call them biohacking technologies, to try and extend the quality of life and speed up the recovery time of these first responders. What have you got in there?
Well, nice to see you again, Tom. We've got some amazing things going on with first responders, maybe to help everybody understand where it all started from. So I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life, and one of the things I've always been interested in is how to maximize human capital. So any companies that we've started and have been successful with, the people are the most important part. So I've been really blessed in my life. About 2 years ago, I was actually praying. And I'm like, you know what? All three of my kids are grown. They all have great spouses. I have 4 grandkids now, sorry. And life is perfect. What can I do to make a difference? What can I do different? 3 days later, I get a call from this town in Gilbert, Arizona. And they say that the city manager wants to meet with you. I didn't even know what a city manager was, so I Google it. And I'm like, holy crap, that's like the CEO over the whole entire city, right? So we have lunch and he says, look, can you look at my benefits and really think about my first responders? And Tom, when I started studying what those men and women give up to serve us, my heart opened up and I knew where I was going to go. So what I found out is that when they sign up for this type of job, they say, I know I'm going to die 15 years before a normal human. I'm going to have 6 to 8 times more cardiovascular events, 3 times more heart attacks and cardiovascular issues, 6 to 8 times more cancer, 3 times more cardiovascular events, and suicide, we lose more to suicide than on the job. And so it's a mess. And I had been studying photobiomodulation, vagus nerve stimulation, infrared saunas, and cold immersion. And my brain said, wait, what if we put together the recharge room for first responders, a way to honor our heroes? And so we put the recharge rooms together, and Gilbert, Arizona, with the recharge rooms. And it's really honestly been life-changing. So every time a first responder uses the recharge room, they fill out a survey form, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we've created a simple 33-minute circuit. And the other thing we created is the Positive Impact Alliance. We've got brilliant people like Dr. Seager, Dr. Santoni, Dr. Nick Hall, lots of MDs and psychologists all working together to see how we can improve human capital and help people. And so in Gilbert, the results have honestly been amazing. It's been.
Now, hang on. This is a 33-minute circuit. You've got some vagus nerve stim, and that's from Hulist.
Yes.
You've got some red light for the photobiomodulation. That's from Mito Red.
Right.
You have a sauna in there, right? You've got some heat.
Yeah.
And who are you using for that?
So we're using at the time Sunlighten sauna.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that a dry sauna? Sauna?
So infrared sauna, dry sauna. Uses carbonated heaters.
Okay.
So and then for Mito red light. So what we did is we went and searched long and far for different providers. One of the challenges public safety has now is everybody and their brothers talking about health and wellness now. They get calls from everybody. So when we can come in as an expert team and almost give the stamp of approval, the first responder stamp of approval, to commercial grade machines, which are different than we might use in our home, right? Mm-hmm. So we use Mito red light. Dr. Hool from ASU graduated and created these easy-to-use vagus nerve stimulators. We created with him these headsets that play guided meditations while stimulating the vagus nerve. So the first 10 minutes, you stand between these two commercial light panels, and you get light therapy, vagus nerve, and sound healing. Light therapy, there's over, I believe, Tom, 6,000 peer-reviewed, published studies on the efficacy of red light and near-infrared light photobiomodulation. They often say if it was a pill, it'd be like a $5 billion pharmaceutical pill, but it's all natural, no drugs. That's station 1, 10 minutes. Station 2, they get in for a 20-minute infrared sauna. They get a nice sweat, a good detox, a good purge. Then they follow that by a shower, and then the 3 minutes in cold immersion using Morozko Forge, and they love it.
Is there any recovery after they come out of the ice bath? Do they do some exercises, some squats, things like that?
What we're finding, Tom, I mean, with the guidance from yourself and others, is that pre-chilling, pre-cooling before workout has advantages. Maybe if I'm recovering from injury, I'm on PT, I might use it in a different modality setting or different order. So we're actually identifying different ways that the rooms can be used. Like, let's say a firefighter just fights a fire. Well, they're not going to get into an infrared sauna. They already heated their bodies. But boy, would a cold plunge be really effective for them post-fire, right? So we have our medical directors are writing protocols for off-shift, on-shift, post-fire, and eventually what I visualize is there'll be, you could say, here's my scenario. It would then tell you what you'd want to do when, and just keep customizing and personalizing it for that person to be proactive and preventive. What we're really doing is providing accelerated mental, emotional, and physical health recovery and resiliency building.
Okay, so you built all this for the city of Gilbert, and they're running their people through it now. What are you finding?
Life-changing results, honestly. What we're finding is anybody that does it between 2 to 3 days.
Rich, what does that mean, life-changing?
Okay, here's what it means. So I got a text just yesterday from a firefighter in Gilbert that says, Rich, you've changed my life. The recharge rooms. He said, I'm off of Ambien. I'm sleeping better. So 30 some odd % are sleeping better. I used to struggle all the time with constant aches and pains. You know, a firefighter carries a 90-pound ruck into a 600-degree burning building, pulling out, saving people. After a while, their bodies get just pummeled, right? So aches and pains are disappearing. The morale boost that they've had, right? So family life, a big problem for first responders, divorce rates are in the 70s. And a lot of times, especially PD, they get off shift. And a lot of those poor men and women, Tom, they've got to drive around for 20, 30 minutes before they even go home. And then they get home, and sometimes everyone's like, don't talk to mom. She just got off shift, right? So now they do recharge room post-shift, go home, and the spouses are like, oh my gosh, you take the day off? You seem like this lovely person I would married at the beginning, right? So that's what I mean by we've seen changes in emotional, mental, physical, and family health.
Tell me about how the people in the leadership at the Gilbert Fire Department and the city are responding.
So we're having so many cities right now contact us to want to deploy this type of, so I've been in the human resource field for many years, and human resource benefits haven't changed for, well, I've been in it 40 years, but it hasn't changed even for more than that, right? So finally, you know, we give police officers the tools to fight crime. We give firefighters the tools to fight fires. We're finally figured out how to give them the tools to fight the emotional, the mental, the physical, and the family challenges that this type of career creates. So the cities really like it because we're having a problem right now, Tom, with school teachers and first responders is longevity on the job. Back in the day, a firefighter used to work 30 years. What we're finding nowadays is they're leaving before 20 years. And so that cost our cities a lot of money. We invest a lot in this person over the time of their career. So by being proactive and preventative, these types of modalities are going to save taxpayers money, save city money. It's going to help with morale. Let's say you're a happier, healthier police officer and you're interacting with the public, maybe less use of force, maybe a better citizen experience. And so the lists keep growing as we keep finding out more.
Okay, but I've got a friend who's a firefighter in Central California, and his chief has banned ice baths from the station, prohibited any of the firefighters to use ice baths while on duty. So he kind of has like a speakeasy ice bath operation in his backyard. Guys will finish their shift, and then they'll come over and they'll decompress, and he's got a Rubbermaid and some bags of ice and that kind of thing. Not all of the leadership is on board here.
Well, what's happened is before people like yourself or people like myself or others that are helping to educate, knowledge is power. So just like we wouldn't give a police officer a gun and not train them how to use it, we wouldn't give a firefighter an engine and say, just start driving it. What we found is that in some areas, they've just done it on their own, and they don't know about contra conditions. They don't know about protocols on safe, effective usage. And it's almost like a fraternity house at some of these fire departments. You'll see how long I can stay in. Well, the person might have a pacemaker. What if they have a cardiovascular condition? So they're not doing it correctly. So what I think they're finding is by having organizations like ours come in and help them plan it out, help them put it together correctly, do intensive onboarding and safety training and usage training, and then ongoing advice to the community on better practices, like with your new initiative, you're starting about safe ice bath practices and fraudulent advertising and those sorts of things. What's reality? And we're here to help them sift, like we're like their clutter buster for the city. We're sifting through all this stuff to help them make better decisions. So I think in California, there's a situation in Arizona right now that I'm helping with where they've actually had the same thing. The fire chief's like, no tubs. And now they're reassessing that and want to do it correctly. So they will have cold immersion eventually, but it'll be done correctly and be done in a safe way. Like we might use a buddy system. 2 at a time might do it together. So we keep learning and growing as we go on.
One of the things I'm hearing from first responders who message me is that their sleep improves, and that's a big problem. It's a psychological problem that becomes a physiological problem because you just can't turn it off right away. You got the adrenaline spike, the cortisol spike that might come from a call. And of course, you're on call all the time, so your circadian rhythm can be whacked. Have you been hearing from the people in Gilbert or other first responders using the recharge room that it's impacting their sleep?
We have. In fact, I mentioned I got a text yesterday from a firefighter in Gilbert. Just one example. There's been dozens and dozens where they're saying, I'm sleeping better. I met with a battalion chief. I won't say any names on camera, but he said, Rich, can we talk one day? And he said, look, brother, I've been doing this 24 years. My daughter has had surgery 2 or 3 times, almost died over the last couple of years. I haven't slept really in 2 years. My aches and pains are worse than ever. My leadership skills aren't as good as they could be. I started doing the recharge rooms and working with the Positive Impact Alliance and cold immersion and those techniques. He goes, and he started tearing up and we started crying. He goes, I'm a better husband now at home. I'm a stronger father. He goes, I'm addicted. He goes, I can't go a week without doing my sessions. It's made me a better leader. I feel like I can have more longevity. You've given us hope again, which is neat. We had on the police side, Lieutenant Chris Timmons. He chased a bad guy, jumped over a fence, broke his back 7 and 8 years ago. He showed me the x-rays with a plate and pins, and he said, I'm always in pain. He's the head of HR now. He's always in pain. He's got a desk job, doesn't sleep good. His life's kind of like, ugh, right? He starts doing the recharge rooms about 4 months ago, calls me a month in. He goes, hey, my wife thinks I'm not tossing and turning as much. I'm sleeping better, and I don't feel as pain. I said, keep going 2 to 3 days a week. Keep doing it. Good job, good job. 6 weeks later, he calls me and goes, you're not going to believe it. For the first time ever, my doctors cleared me to work out at the gym. I'm off my anti-inflammatories, and brother, life is just so great. Thank you. And then he called me like 3 weeks ago, Tom, on his way to vacation. He goes, you're not going to believe this. We bought a dog, and the dog got loose. I'm jogging again. I chased the dog, and I had no pain after chasing the dog. Like, this is beautiful.
It sounds like the kind of thing that a guy can keep doing even after he retires. That is, you accumulate the joints, the back, all of the aches and pains. They add up to a disabled state that might shorten a career and cause for a painful retirement. You're here talking about a guy who has come back from that kind of injury and is leading a more normal life now.
Yeah. And that's just the last thing I'll share with you that I think is really earth-shattering. So there's dozens and dozens of these types of stories. Here's one we're really interested in. When a firefighter fights a fire, he or she smells like smoke for 2-3 days, no matter how many showers they take. They've tried everything. Charcoal soap, lemon soap, everything. Nothing works. These two captains in Gilbert fought a fire about 4 months ago, and they said, let's do a recharge room when we're done. And they did a recharge room, and they both got done. They look at each other like, oh my crap, you don't smell like smoke. The other guy's like, you don't smell like smoke either, so don't say anything yet. They both go home, and both of their spouses were like, did you cancel the fire today? You don't smell like smoke.
It sounds like they sweated it out.
Yeah, so we had dozens and dozens of them come through. But what we really think it is I call it the synergy of togetherness. Together, we're stronger. Same thing with modalities, or what we call biostacking, right? So when they first do, this is what the doctors are thinking. Why don't, because they tried a sauna only in Scottsdale like 5 years ago. Dr. Burgess did it at U of A. Still smelled like smoke. It was inconclusive. So now, why are they not smelling like smoke when we're doing the recharge rooms? Here's what we think. Red light, in essence, creates cellular energy, circulatory motion, reduction of inflammation. Vagus nerve aligns all the organs to rest and digest. So now when I get into the sauna, I'm getting a deeper, more meaningful purge and dump, followed by a shower and then cold water immersion. We're also going to be testing soon that niacin is being shown as an accelerant for dumping carcinogens. So in a test we're going to do is we give a B3 shot at the beginning. They take 10 minutes with the light and the headsets. The niacin works through the system. They get into the sauna, and we'll see if we have a deeper, more meaningful, even more impactful purge. So we could be on maybe, and it's early on, but we could be on a path to lower cancer rates in our first responders. And for me, this is why I'm so excited about this, is that what if in the future we don't have to say you die earlier? What if in the future you don't have as many cancers? What if in the future you don't have as many heart attacks and you don't have to die of suicide and PTSD? What if having this type of job, we finally gave you the right tools to handle the job? And as the years go on, Tom, our team is going to stay with the cities and the agencies to keep them up on the latest science, because we have the greatest doctors working with us. Keep them up on the best ways to motivate and maximize human capital.
So you're going to have a chance to gather some data on these rooms. And you were telling me you're working with Marco Santello, who's a colleague of mine at Arizona State and a customer. You have put an ice bath in his garage. We put one on campus so that when he and I saw, when we need that, we just pop over to the lab and we get in. What kind of data are you going to be able to send to Marco?
So we're gathering, for the first time really, data from our public safety personnel, law enforcement and fire, that is directly, while they're directly utilizing the program. So on the wall when they leave, there's a tablet and they fill out a real quick survey, right? So now we've been collecting subjective things. How do you feel? Are you sleeping better? How's your family relationship? Less aches and pains? Are you recovering from injury quicker? And all of those have been 93+% on every single person reporting. It's like all the scientists are like, wow, right? With Marco, Dr. Santini, what we're going to study is sleep. And what we're going to do is we're going to take and have some people do a recharge room once a week, and then some people do a recharge room 3 days a week. So we'll have a study, we'll have a user group in each of those categories. And as we study going forward, we'll see which of them are sleeping better and neurologically less stress, less anxiety, and their mental health improved. Dr. Marco is one of the organizations we're partnering up with, is the Brain project, and then the Human Performance Lab, right, at ASU. And so that's what we're going to study, is sleep and some neurological factors that Dr. Santini and his team will study for us.
I think that there's a lot of support for this hypothesis in Dr. Kirk Parsley. I've got to introduce you. He's a good friend. He's known as the sleep doctor.
Oh, I love
And
him.
he works with Navy SEALs. He works with rodeo cowboys. He works with Hollywood stuntmen. He says they're all the same guy. The UFC fighters, all of these guys that are out on the hairy edge of life endangerment in the interest of performance, in the interest of a higher mission, whether that's making a movie or winning a war or entertaining the crowd. He says they all have the same mentality, they all have the same issues, and sleep is at the core of it. So he's learned how to get them off of all of the sleep drugs that don't do them any good and get them into a more natural state of sleep. He's got an ice bath, and he says for some guys, it's the one thing that makes the big difference.
We've seen that, Tom. I mean, the note I mentioned, the young man was on Ambien.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't sleep. I mean, you imagine you're a firefighter, you have the night shift, it's 12 at night, you finally get to bed. The bell goes off, you got to be in your boots in 30 seconds, into the truck and on the scene in 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you get back about 1:30 in the morning and you fall back asleep. And then the bell rings again. So the sleep patterns of our first responders and public safety personnel, just like veterans and others, are really challenged by the type of work. And really, that's where this whole thesis came from. I was like, if we're giving elite athletes these types of tools, the heroes of our community, our first responders, they can utilize this because they're elite athletes as well and face the same challenges you're mentioning.
How are you going to get this to be more widely adopted?
Well, we've been really blessed. We've been approached. We haven't made any outbound calls yet. We've been approached by 30 different agencies already, as far as Illinois, Rockford, Illinois, the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department just ordered a recharge room. And what we're planning on is we just got endorsed in Arizona by the Arizona Firefighters Union. So the boots on the ground are really behind what we're doing. In fact, another big thing when you're a first responder and you get ready to retire, you talk about problems. A lot of them typically die a few years after retirement. They have a loss of identity. What's my purpose in life? So we're going to offer to retiring first responders to come on board with the Positive Impact Alliance and have another career where they can still serve their brothers and sisters, but not be in the mess of it and be like what we'll call our Positive Impact account huggers. And so we're planning on scaling through the unions, through cities, and just my dream is that every first responder, every public safety personnel in the world will have these types of tools so we can make it a better world where the people who save us, if every citizen knew what I kind of know now about what first responders give up, it'd be a lot different.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for what they do every day. And I don't think I could do it. And I'm just happy to be able to help our heroes.
We're going to see if we can help get the word out.
Sounds good, brother.
Thank you, Rich. Yeah.
Thank you. You're a good interviewer.
I'm working on it. Yeah. But, I don't have to work very hard in your case.